We're going to read another book today, but I wanted to show you something really cool from my front porch. Check it out. It's spring, and I have planted some flowers. We used our art skills. We're not very good at art, but we tried, and we took water bottles and cut them and put some seeds in there, and we're going to have marigold flowers growing. And Chloe made a minion. So let's go inside and let's read a book. Okay, so do you recognize this guy? Well, what about this guy? I knew that you would recognize that one. That is the main character in the Diary of the Wimpy Kid book. The first guy that you saw is the author, Jeff Kinney. So today we're going to read a book, and it's an interview with Jeff Kinney. It's an expository book, and there's lots of questions throughout the book, and they're asking Jeff Kinney some really great questions. So let's get started. Making Stories with Jeff Kinney by Alice Carey. Meet Jeff Kinney. Jeff Kinney loves to entertain kids. He loves this so much that he has 3 different jobs making entertainment for kids. Helping to make movies, designing a website, and writing and drawing books. Millions of fans all over the world have read his Diary of a Wimpy Kid books in 35 different languages. But Jeff never planned to be a writer, and he never meant to draw for kids. It's been a strange life so far, Jeff said during an interview at his home in a small town in Massachusetts, USA. He lives there with his wife and 2 sons, and he writes and draws in an office next door. Jeff explained why he works so hard and when he first got the creative bug. You have 3 different jobs. Is it always this calm around here? A few days ago, it was not calm. This place looked like it had been hit by a bomb. I had everything cranking. Sometimes it can be insane. Has your mind always been so full of ideas? It takes me a lot of time to come up with one idea. So I'm not someone who has an overflowing mind, but I've always had a drive to create something. Why do you think you have this drive to create? My idea about life is that you're almost always either creating something or consuming something. By that I mean enjoying something that everybody else has created. Even at dinner time, you could be cooking or you could be eating. When did you first start loving to draw? I drew a lot, all through my childhood. And to have those all in one sketchbook was very satisfying. And then one day my sketchbook was missing. And my younger brother had been the last one to see it. For months I made him look for it every day. And he never did find it. He had gone and sold all my drawings for like $0.25 a piece. How did you find out? Somebody called me up and said that my drawings were really good. Jeff never got his sketchbook back, but now his brother, Patrick, helps Jeff. The brothers often talk on the phone several times a day. Jeff tries out new ideas on Patrick, and Patrick lets Jeff know how he likes them. The cartoonist who couldn't draw. After college, Jeff wanted to be a cartoonist, but he couldn't sell his cartoons. That's when he realized his drawing skills might not be good enough. Did you teach yourself to draw? Yes, I guess I did. I had some art classes early on, but nothing formal. I used to be pretty good at drawing pictures that looked real. Did you read comic books as a kid? My father introduced me to cartoons. There were these Donald Duck and Uncle Scrooge comics that I really loved. I think that's the best storytelling I've ever read any sort of. When did you start cartooning? I started drawing flip books in 2nd grade. A friend and I drew a comic called Fish. It was a fish with a hat. It looked like a goldfish. Has cartooning always been your favorite thing? No, actually I stopped doing it for a long time. I was a computer programmer. Ever since middle school, I created games and things like that. Jeff's best teacher. Jeff's 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Norton, was his favorite teacher. While everyone else praised his drawings, Mrs. Norton told him how to make them better. What I really liked about her was that she challenged me, Jeff says. When did you start cartooning again? I might have drawn 1 or 2 cartoons for the high school paper, and then, for some reason, in college, I wanted to write crossword puzzles for the newspaper. They laughed at the idea that I would come up with a new crossword puzzle every day. I was embarrassed that they were laughing, so I said I could do comic strip. So they said, "Oh, you should try that out." Jeff drew a cartoon called Igdoof for the University of Maryland newspaper until he graduated in 1993. How did you go from drawing Igdoof to drawing Greg Heffley in the Wimpy Kid books? Igdoof was a very strange-looking character with a huge nose and giant ears and 3 hairs, just like Greg. But when he would draw himself, Igdoof would draw himself to look exactly like Greg. So that's where I first drew that drawing of Greg. So when did you start drawing Greg without Igdoof? After college, I tried to get my cartoons published, but for 3 years I had no success. My aha moment came when I realized that my illustration style didn't look professional enough. I couldn't draw consistently. I can't do that for some reason. I realized that if I wrote a journal as if I were a kid, people wouldn't be able to criticize my style. Jeff then began writing and drawing about Greg Heffley, a 7th grader who keeps a diary. A new character. After college, Jeff kept trying to make money by cartooning. At age 25, he started keeping a diary. He wrote in journals for 3 years and continued to draw his middle school character, Greg. Why did you start a diary? I was playing too many video games. I wanted to start keeping a journal to shame myself into working on my comics. I figured, how many days can I write about the video games I played at night? That's how it started off. Doodle away. Jeff loves to doodle, and he thinks more people should try it. He often has trouble paying attention, but doodling helps him focus. In class, growing up, and even in college, I would always have to be drawing, Jeff says. Today, he sometimes finds it helpful to doodle during meetings. How many diaries did you use? I have about 30 of them. They look just like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and that's what gave me the idea for Wimpy Kid. I liked the format. I liked the text with illustrations. Sometimes you draw your new character, Greg, in these diaries. I came up with the title Diary of a Wimpy Kid one night. I knew I had something. I took a long time writing it. From the time that I started writing until the time that I got published was, I think, 8 years. At least 8 years. When you first started writing, did you plan to write for middle school kids? I wrote this book with my father and other people who love comics in mind. I wrote this big 1,300-page book and put it up online, and I had an adult audience in mind. Later, you showed your work to an editor who said it could be a book. What did that feel like? He just looked at it for a minute, or less, maybe, and said, "This is what we're looking for." It was a very cool moment. Were you surprised when you learned the book would be for kids and not adults? It was definitely a shock, but it's definitely where it should have been all along. Making a book, step by step. The first Diary of a Wimpy Kid book was published in 2007 and quickly became a bestseller. How long does it take to make a book? These books look like you could put them together in a day or two, but they take about 9 months of really hard work. How do you start? I usually put a blanket over my head. Jeff explains that the blanket helps him focus and not get distracted. And then what? It's very mathematical. To make a good book, I need maybe 700 ideas, so it's about 4 hours each night of just thinking. Most of the time, I fall asleep. To my wife, I'm sure it looks like I'm lying around. Finally, Jeff keeps his best ideas and jokes. He puts them together like a giant puzzle. What about illustrations? The drawing takes, I'd say, another 4 months of working hard for about 8 to 12 hours a day. Sometimes it's 13 or 14 hours. I just draw like mad. What's the toughest part of writing? The hardest part of the process is coming up with jokes of any sort. It's hard to drum up a joke out of thin air. Even if you set aside the time, the jokes don't always come. What do you do when you're stuck? I don't have any tricks. I've been trying to figure that out for years. When I first started to write, I mapped where I got each idea. I wrote down where I was and what I was doing and what time of the day it was. The map ended up all over the place. It's random. Which character is most like you? I think that I'm most like Greg. He's an outlet for me to express the feelings I'm not so proud of as an adult. He's not a bad guy, he's just immature, and that's hopefully what makes him funny. What's the best part about making a book? My favorite part is when I come up with an idea I know is a winner. That's very exciting to me because it's really fun to create something new and funny and original. What's most important to you as a writer? Quality and humor. I don't want to ever get lazy. I want to do the best job I can in the time that I have to do it. Do you have ideas for other books and characters? I've got an idea, but we'll just see how it plays out. Good advice. What advice do you have for kids who want to write and draw? There's a huge opportunity for people who are willing to work and create something good. I feel like my breakthrough was when I turned off the computer games and turned off the television. I decided that if I was playing video games or watching TV, then I wasn't making something new. The accidental author. In college, Jeff Kinney majored in criminal justice and planned to be a federal law enforcement agent, but no jobs were available at the time. Jeff said in his interview that even when he wrote Diary of a Wimpy Kid, he never planned to be an author. As a result, when Jeff attends author conferences, he doesn't feel a part of that group. He also feels out of place at the cartoonist conferences. He says he feels he is somewhere between an author and a cartoonist. That was a really good book. I really enjoyed learning about Jeff Kinney, the author of the Diary of the Wimpy Kid series. If you could ask him any question, what would you ask him? You can pause the video and write down your answer or tell someone in your house. What is something really interesting that you learned about Jeff Kinney or the series Diary of a Wimpy Kid while reading this book today? Pause the video and answer. All right, so on page 11, Jeff Kinney talks about his teacher and how she really made a difference in his life. I want you to pause the video and write or tell someone in your house about your teacher and how she has really made a difference in your life. Okay, so I have a challenge for you. I want you to get your creative juices flowing. I want you to take some time to turn off the TV or turn off the video games and sit down and see if you can write a short graphic novel. You can do your own illustrations just like Jeff Kinney, or you can make a planter like Miss Goodrich and Chloe did, and you can take a water bottle and you just cut it and you paint it and put some seeds in there and grow you something. And if you want to share your creation with me, you can take a picture or video and email it to me at goodrichc@gilmerisd.org. I would love to see all the things that y'all are doing. I miss you so much and I love you. I will see you next week. Bye.